All right, welcome to episode 13, all things defense. Defense wins, not just football championships, you guys. If you are not sold that defense also wins pickleball championships, then listen to the next 30 minutes. I love defense. I think it's probably the strongest part of my game. I grew up playing tennis, and my guiding principle was a quote from my mother that went like this: "The person who wins is the one who gets one more ball over the net." And boy, have I carried that axiom through to my pickleball game. This notion that you don't have to be perfect, you just need one more ball over the net. I love that. And if you haven't noticed, pickleball is basically designed for defense. Don't believe me? Let's look at some facts and data. First off, you've got air entering the ball from the holes in the ball. Indoor balls have around 26 holes. They can have more. And outdoor balls typically have around 40 holes. You think about like the Durafast 40, the Franklin X40. Why is there that number 40 in their name? It's for the 40 holes. If you're like me, you literally just found this out like relatively recently. And so what does this mean? It means it's an equalizer, right? That's why you see guys and girls, big people, small people on the same court, young and old, and the ball's going back and forth, back and forth. It's the air entering the holes that has this neutralizing, equalizing effect. But it's not just power that's an equalizing effect. It's also spin. So spin in pickleball comes at about a maximum of 2,200 revolutions per minute. And some people say if your paddle's around the 1,800 to 2,000 range, that's considered actually pretty high. So let's put that into perspective with some other sports. Roger Federer's one-handed backhand is around 3,700 RPMs, and Nadal's forehand is actually around 3,200. So if we look at that 3,700 number, and that's like a 40% difference to pickleball at 2,200 RPMs. More fun facts. The fastest spin rate on a baseball is around 2,600 by Andrew Scott Bailey. Golf, again, that 2,600 number. Ping pong, Scott, can you guess?
Table tennis, I would say probably 30% more than pickleball.
It's actually 9,000 RPMs, right? So what does this all mean, right? It's this beautiful equalizing effect. And when you start to think about pickleball, from the paddles to the balls to the way we set up with the serve being negligible, or it used to be, fun fact, listen to our episode on the serve because it's now a weapon. And then of course you have the game designed with the server staying back. And if you just look at the game, it's designed from every aspect, even with the side out scoring, to promote long points, to promote defense. We said on our last podcast that if you ever have an opportunity to play with much better players than yourself, you'll notice one major thing, right? It's not going to be, oh my gosh, they hit the ball so hard. Wow, they earned. Oh my gosh, they can hit a third shot lob. No, it's going to be none of that, you guys. It's going to be, oh my gosh, the ball, it just keeps coming back. I thought it was over and it came back one more time. So if you want to level up your game, it's about raising your floor and really drinking the one more ball back Kool-Aid philosophy. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to get it over the net one more time. Scott, are you as passionate about defense as I am?
Yeah, I like that idea. It is, it's, right, it sounds oversimplistic. Mm-hmm. However, I think it applies more to pickleball even than tennis, because the pickleball court is smaller. Like in tennis, yeah, someone like takes you wide, you're off the court, you get one more ball back. Well, now you have this huge court you have to go cover on the next one. That's not happening. Yep. But in pickleball, if you can get one more ball over, it's a small court. You can now defend that still. So I agree with that philosophy. It is it works very well in pickleball.
So what about the players, Scott, who are like, look at the pros, it's bang, bang. I'm an offensive player. I don't need defense. Defense is less and less relevant.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of, I think that narrative is kind of out there now there's new paddle technology. People can hit it harder, and like all these pro players have so much skill, they can be extremely offensive. And if you compare the game now to where it was 4 or 5 years ago, which was a slower, softer, longer point game, like people have this notion that it's all offense. And so if you take that you take that idea to the park and then you're just, trying to rip winners the whole time. And that's the way you play. Trust me, nobody likes playing with you. It's like, why? Because the point ends too quickly, right? There's no development of the point. There's nothing interesting is happening. There's not much strategy going on. Like if we're playing basketball and every time I pass it to you, you just jack up a three because that's what you see Steph Curry doing. It's like, that is not fun for the rest of your team. Like, there's no ball movement. There's no creation of plays. And I think kind of the pickleball equivalent is the people that kind of take all the offense that is being kind of talked about now. And it's like, well, now I want to go do that. And it's like, well, wait a minute here. It's like that it's in doses, It's like we like to talk about how you need to earn your offense, and that comes after quite a few points. So I don't want people going all offense all the time. It's like there is definitely the value of defense might be it's not popular right now, but I think it's undervalued.
I totally agree. And if you look at the best players in the world, and I have the absolute honor to play them week in and week out, and I was actually playing a practice match at MLP Vegas against Anna Bright and Kate Fahey. I was playing with my MLP partner, Elise Jones. And I remember I hadn't stepped on a court with Anna in, 8 months, 10 months. And I remember playing her and Kate and was just like, you got to be kidding me. How are all of these balls coming back? And so you think about someone who's so aggressive, like an Anna Bright or an Anna Lee Waters, you cannot forget the flip side of that coin is incredible defense. I think the offense just looks so much cooler on television that's what we all see and that's what we remember. And I'm telling you what the reality is, because I was just on the court with her in particular. It's the defense that is jaw-dropping to me, absolutely jaw-dropping. And even with paddle technology, Scott, people go, oh my gosh, the Yola, which you played and you just signed with them, congratulations. They go, oh my God, that paddle hits so hard, it hits so hard. The incredible thing about that paddle to me is the midcourt, actually, is the, you were just able to get your paddle barely on the ball and it finds its way over the net, dropping into the kitchen, right? So if you ask the better players why they love that paddle, the better players have a very different answer than if you ask the 3-5s and the 4-0s why they love the paddle. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I think that was what shocked me the most about kind of when I started playing with that paddle. It's like, oh my gosh, my resets, my defense is way better. It's like, I think it has to do with the size of the sweet spot. But yes, it's not just, I can, maybe I can put a ball away a little more easily or a little more effectively. I am in so many more points when I'm playing defense. So yeah, it isn't just the one side. It's both ways. Yeah, your point about how good Anna Bright's defense is, I agree that is it's kind of overlooked. It's it's like if you usually ask me who are the best defenders, and it's like those are always tough questions because the answer to almost all those questions is just look at whoever the top 3 people are. But I don't like using them as examples. It's too easy to say, oh, well, Ben's the easiest, or Ben's the best, or Anna Lee's the best. Yeah. Both of them make it look so easy, it's hard to use them as an example because it's like, yeah, they're the best, but you can't do what they do. So I don't want to use that as an example. And so, yeah, Anna Bright, I've been, watching a lot of Anna Bright and Rachel Rohrbacher play, and it's like Rachel's putting one more ball back in play. That is getting a lot better. It's like she's kind of like, I think everyone thinks everyone's like, oh, Anna Lee and Anna Bright are the 2 best players, but Rachel is usually the X factor in those matches when they play. Yeah.
I want to talk a second about defensive mindset and what that means. A defensive mindset is not a conservative mindset. Those are very different things. So Scott and I aren't saying, hey, go out there and be defensive and don't bang back at a banger and slow the game down. We are saying earn the speed up. We're both huge proponents of that. But when I'm on defense, I'm actually looking to flip the script as quickly as possible back to offense. So talk to me a little bit about mindset.
Yeah, I mean, because there is such a premium right now, it seems like, on being offensive and working on all your offense. Well, not everyone has like a huge serve and this big drive and like some crazy flick. What if I don't have those things, but they're coming at me? What do I do? And so that's kind of the reason being a great defender. It's like there's answers for all of those things, and having a good defensive mindset will help you, give you answers and give you an approach to deal with all the offense that's coming at you. So it's super important. You don't have to fight fire with fire.
Yeah.
Like you can fight fire with a big wet blanket, which is kind of a nice reset.
I always say, Scott, there's no such thing as bad pickleball players, just bad positions on the court. Talk to me about, if you want to get better at defense, where should you find yourself on the court? Like, where should you be moving, if at all, when you're on defense?
To me, I think being good at defense is being good at reading the play kind of wherever you are. So whether it's, whether you're standing at the kitchen or whether you're in transition or, whether you're trying to return Deckelbar's serve, which is to me a very defensive position, it's paying attention and being, ready, and having, it's like if I have to return his serve, do I have some ideas? It's like, yeah, my ideas are like, what's the most conservative way I can handle this? I know a bomb is coming at me. What should I do? Let me open the paddle and punt. That's the safest thing I can do. Let me just hit this thing really high. Hopefully it will go back deep. That will give me time to run in. And then at least I'll have a chance at handling, his follow-up, which, he's a great player, so he's going to rip a forehand at me. But having a good defensive mindset, it doesn't mean he's going to rip a serve at me. I'm going to rip my return back.
Smart.
To me, that causes errors when you fight fire with fire. It's like, that's kind of tough. So it's like, if I'm in a defensive position, okay, well, what's the highest percentage defensive shot that I could hit? All right. And in a rec play situation, it's like, okay, there's plenty of people out there with big serves, but they might not have the best, follow up to it. So my strategy of open that paddle, hit it nice and high and get it in the air a long time and then hustle in. The follow-up from the rec player isn't going to be, the Deckelbar forehand. It's like the follow-up is going to be, it's going to be missed quite a bit. And it's going to, it's not going to turn out as good, and you will have neutralized the offense, which there's your good defensive play.
I like where you're going with this, which is stay in the present, one shot at a time. I think we all have this capacity and this tendency to be 2-3 shots ahead. And my putting in golf vastly improved when I stopped thinking about what was going to be my comeback putt. I was like, hey, just focus on this first putt. If it's an 8-foot putt, you're going to try and make it, either 2 feet short or 2 feet behind it. Like, just put good speed on it. Don't worry so much about the comeback. If you hit a good putt right now, you're not going to be left with a 6-foot downhill slider coming back. And that was revolutionary for me. And I find myself doing exactly what you just described, which is if someone has a really big serve, I'm focusing more on, let's hit a good return. Like you taught me that. You said, like, just focus on a good return. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be in the perfect spot, it doesn't have to be the perfect depth. Let's just hit a solid return. So sometimes defense is this mindset of maybe a little concession, like, hey, he's got a really big serve. I'm not going to hit the biggest return, but here's my plan. Here's what I'm sticking to. And you're just handling that one shot at a time, which is when I'm on defense and I'm scrambling, all I'm thinking about is the shot that I'm hitting right now, not, oh, what's going to happen if I don't hit this shot perfectly. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, I think that is, that's a very practical way of looking at it, of being in the moment for a particular shot. It's like, do not go a couple shots ahead in pickleball, kind of out of fear, or it's like because if you're afraid to miss, or you're unsure of what's going to happen next, you won't focus through. You're not going to hit a good shot, and it'll just be self-fulfilling.
How does someone know if they're good at defense? Like if someone's listening to this podcast at home and they go, I've got great defense. I'm the best defensive player in my group. Like, can we help them validate that? Can your defense always be better? Spoiler alert. Yes, I think your defense can always be better.
Yeah, it can always be better. I think the way I identify good defenders kind of by this. Now, I watch a lot of pro pickleball, but there are people where if their paddle touches the ball, they make it. Right? And like when we talk about good defenders, that is kind of their calling card.
That's my core belief. If your paddle can touch the ball, you can make it.
Yeah, I've been kind of working with a junior lately, and he has huge power. Like he has every shot, but when I watch him play games, because he hasn't put it all together, I kind of tell him, you are ending so many points by missing, like not putting a ball in play that you touched and was makeable. Like how many makeable misses, right? And if it's like a lot of makeable misses are, oh, I tried to hit the perfect reset, it went short. I tried to hit the aggressive dink, it hit the tape. I tried to, rip my return and missed it. And it's like, you're not valuing every single shot enough. Mm-hmm. And when you don't, right, and it's tough in practice. Well, I want to work on my shot, so I don't care if I miss. And it's like, okay, but you can take that too far.
Yeah.
And not learn how to, you need to make every ball. I feel like when the Newmans were kind of at the height of their powers a few years ago, and you watched them play, I just felt like they had this, I am going to make every single ball. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't go through me back then. And it's like, these points are going to last forever. And everything I touch, I'm going to make. And that they were just gods of defense. And it was amazing how successful they were at that. And it's like that mindset, I'm going to make every ball. There is value to turning that dial up. Sometimes you don't have to turn it all the way up to the way they did it, to where it's like, okay, it's like if you turn it all the way up, then you're taking away some offense, right? Yeah. But you got to kind of tune the dials in. And I think too many dials are dialed all the way up on offense, and they don't really, they don't value and don't even think about defense. And so they don't notice this thing of, I touched a makeable ball and didn't make it. And when, like, internally, when that happens to me, I am so mad.
Me too.
And then I see other people, and it's like they miss, and it's like they're so okay with their miss. It shouldn't drive me. It's a little frustrating to me, but it's like, that is kind of the difference between certain people.
So you touched on the Newmans, and I'd like to dive a little deeper into that. They are very unorthodox, even for pickleball standards. So we said that, and I agree with this, that they were gods of defense and probably the top mixed doubles team or top two mixed doubles team for years. Talk to me about anything they do technically that our listeners can learn from at home, and any technical thoughts you have on whether it's paddle position or contact point to help our listeners improve their defense.
So they are unorthodox. They both have two-handed backhands, and that two-handed backhand, I think they hit it a little differently. I watched so much of Jesse played with Lindsay quite a bit, and so I would kind of go and watch those matches on the sideline, and it's just so fun to watch Lindsay, because going in, she's just going to make every single ball.
Yeah.
And how does she do it? She just sticks, her paddle is out in front of her. She hits every ball is just hit out in front of her. Her paddle it's usually kind of open and faced up, and if she's going to miss, it's not going to be short. Mm-hmm. She's going to miss high and then just deal with the next one. And it's like, and it looks often it looks like a drill. It just
Yes.
kind of looks like she's drilling
Yes.
during points, and she's just so comfortable. So I would just say, yeah, kind of paddle out there and open, and she just puts the paddle on the ball.
I agree. If you guys are listening at home and you're wondering how can I get better specifically with defense, I can tell you from personal experience, when I'm having a bad defensive day, the paddle is getting really close to my body. I'm trying to be really cute and really perfect, and I always think about Lindsay Newman and Riley and how in front of themselves they are with their hands and their paddle, how early they're meeting the ball. I always say, Scott, I've never had a student who has come to me and I've said these words, gosh, you're just meeting it a little too early.
Yeah.
You can't overdo early, you guys. I promise you. At least when it comes to defense. Maybe a few other pickleball related aspects, but not defense. Right, Scott?
Yeah, for sure. Like being early, it's about, being a good defender. When you just asked me a few minutes ago, it's the being ready and present in the moment.
So,
If we talk about, let's talk about another defensive situation. Let's talk about if we're all at the kitchen, and right, and I'm a right side player, and if my left side player is dinking cross court, to me that is one of the most vulnerable defensive positions I can be in, because I'm not really hitting the ball, and my partner keeps hitting it to the person in front of me. Where's an attack going? Well, attacks are going down the line. So that's where I need to be. Like, I need to have my optimal defense going, right? So if someone's flicking the ball at me, it's like, okay, well, what are my standard options? It's like, well, I can reset this ball. I can counter it in a variety of ways. I can punch it. I can angle it down. I can, take a big swing at it. Can maybe scorpion it if I have that shot. I can back off the line a little. If I know someone's coming at me and I don't think I can handle it, I can back off the line, give myself a little more time. And then, my favorite option, and I think the best, classiest, most beautiful way to handle it is to read the play and let it go.
yes, believe.
Yeah, that to me, that's the best move. But that requires really reading the ball that is being hit to them. Like, what ball are they attacking? Is it, from what height is it coming? And the lower it's coming from, or the bigger their swing, and the ball's low, like those couple of really small nuances are the difference to being able to be good at that and playing every ball, because you just, you didn't really foresee it that much.
Can we do a whole episode on the leave?
We could. There's a lot there. I mean, yes, we can.
It's the lowest hanging fruit. The at the 5-5 level, it's like 3 to 4 free rallies a game if you can leave the ball. And I think it's literally 10 free rallies if you're at the 4-0, 4-5 level. People hitting out balls.
At the challenger level, it's the difference between us getting to the playoffs or not.
Oh yeah, in Vegas. No, you're totally right.
It's huge.
So Scott, let's dive deep on what makes a great defensive player great. We talked already about mindset, being present. We talked about paddle position, being out, forward. What about anticipation? Like, what else makes a great defensive player great in your mind?
There's a level of athleticism that usually great defenders have. There's a couple of, right, when I think about defenders, I try not to only think about pros. I'm like, what great defenders do I see kind of in the rec games that I play at, where I play? It's like, what about the 4-5, 5-0 level people that are there that are great defenders? What are they doing? And it's like they kind of have a love of scrambling. Like, I mean, there's one guy I'm picturing right now, and it's like he gets really low, and he is so it's like and he gets into this little anticipation mode that is and it's like you can just tell that he's like a kind of like a hockey goalie, where it's like you're just not getting this ball by him.
Yeah.
And I think when you talk about the best, even if we just talk about like the way Riley Newman, since we're talking about him, the way he defends, it's like, again, he and Lindsay don't miss short, right? When they defend, they're firm with it, and it may not be that great, but then they follow it with hockey goalie mode of, oh, that one's a little high, but you can't get this by me. I'm too ready. And they're just like athletically cover, they just get down and get ready to cover. So they find a position where they are maximizing how much they cover.
I love that you said get low. I've also never seen a student and said, oh, we're just going to have to stand you up a little taller. Sorry, you're just a little too low to the ground. So I like that you mentioned that. So Scott, if we're playing against someone with excellent defense, where do they go to get the ball past someone with great defense? What's the game plan here?
So how do you beat a good defender?
How do you piss off a great defender?
Yeah, I think one of the usually people become great defenders because they don't have the best offense, right? It's like
interesting.
It's like you get your style and your skills sort of out of necessity. And so it's like if you don't have the best offensive mindset, then you end up, let me see what wins here. And so you can kind of like, okay, well, maybe I won't give you I won't give you this pace that you want. I won't give you this. It's like, I'll just hit it over here. We'll get into kind of a more neutral point, and then I'll just kind of, work you around a different way. So it's like, maybe not play into it. On the other hand, it's like, the people, how I was using the example of someone who likes to be offensive all the time and nobody likes playing with them at the park. It's like, we have, one of those guys in our group, and it's like, I don't like playing with or against him because he does have the ability to just end points, in a good way. It's like, you can just hit through people, and it's like, so yes, just hit through the defenders, and then they have nothing else if your offense is too good.
That's super interesting. I've been training with my sister, who's a 5'2" duper. She just got a silver medal, baby's first medal at Kappa, California Association of Pickleball Amateurs. I just made that up. I don't know what Kappa stands for, but it's here in Southern California. It was just at TTC, my club here in Newport Beach. And my sister won silver. And I do this thing where I actually take my loved ones' medals, because like Kristen got a bronze in Pittsburgh at the Gamma Classic in singles. I had a heart attack. I was coaching her. We had trained singles the week before. I was like, look, I earned that. That's mine. Did the same thing with my sister, because I've been training her for 2 weeks since I moved back to Newport Beach. And for the 2 weeks we've been training, she will have a literal like put 10 out of 10 put away. And I'm just in like an awful position, and I get the ball back and I win the point. And so for 2 weeks, she goes, why am I not winning these points against you? And I go, you're trying to hit through me. You're just like, you're putting it on my paddle. Like, can you snap it, spin it down? Can you get me to take a step? Can you get me to meet it sideways? Can you get it to bounce at my feet? So that's kind of where I was going with that question, is if someone has great hands, ask yourself, are you literally putting the ball on their paddle? If you can hit through them, I agree with Scott, hit through them. If you can do that, do that. If hitting through someone isn't working for you, It's going to sound weird and it's going to feel weird, but it's pretty devastating to take pace off and to get it to kick. So we always talk about Gabe Tardio, incredible offense. But what's more devastating playing against him than one of his hard putaways is when he goes to take that big cobra swing and you think it's coming fast at you and it doesn't. And it's a dink, right? Or it's an off-speed shot. So Scott, that's kind of where I was going with that. If at first you don't succeed hitting through someone, where does a player have to put it against someone with great defense?
Yeah, I know that's you basically just described one of the best weapons in pickleball, and that is misdirection.
Yeah. Jesse Irvin, master of misdirection.
If you can't go through them, misdirect change the speed, and then the second thing is accuracy.
Yeah.
Right? When someone gets low, the lower you get, I think if there's one place you're kind of susceptible when you're low, it is moving laterally. Because you're so spread that it's like you don't have the spring that direction. When I first started, there was this guy, and you might know him, kind of an old school player, and his nickname was Proposal Dave.
Oh, you didn't know this? Proposal Dave was my first ever mixed doubles partner. He took me to my first ever pro tournament. Okay, the Golden State Championship. Were you there? In Concord, 5.5 years ago. Jesse Irvin was there. Irina and Ben Johns played together. Dave and I beat Colin Johns and Martina Coakley. We lost to Steve Deacon and Michelle Esquivel. It was Lawrence Stratman's first pro tournament too. And I wore knee pads with Dave.
So great story. Yes, that was also my first pro tournament.
No way.
Gabe Joseph and I played pro men's, and we lost to Pickleball and Kyle Yates in the first round. It's like welcome to pro pickleball.
Kind of a tough first round for you, Scott.
Kyle was just fresh off being the GOAT, and Deckel was just fresh off the ATP tour. And I think Gabe and I were happy to maybe get 2 or 3 points a game. Did win a couple backdraw matches, so it wasn't a total waste. But yeah, first pro tournament. Still have the T-shirt. I wear it frequently. Great memories. Other memory from that tournament. So Warnick and Jesse are playing mixed against. I think it was Kyle Yates and Lindsay Newman, and Jesse and Lindsay had a 174 shot rally.
No.
Yes.
No.
The Briones ran that tournament, and so they were real nice. They're like, we'll send you the video. We counted the shots, 174 shots. It was like 3.5 minutes. Something really just ridiculous.
The golden age of pickleball.
Yeah, no, that's so yeah, great sidebar.
It was like 100 degrees that tournament too. I look at photos of myself on the podium because I got bronze in women's, and I'm like emaciated. Like it was so hot that event. Do you remember that?
No, because I was out so soon.
Oh, you were out.
Those weren't long days for me.
But what were you going to say about Proposal Dave?
Okay, so Proposal Dave, when he gets down on one knee and he defends, right? This is how he when someone pops a ball up and he's about to receive an incoming overhead. He gets down on one knee, gets his paddle out front and low, and if you hit it at him, he's going to make it, and then now you're just going to feel like you're going to feel like what is the answer to that? It is simply to accurately put it away from him. He has no range. Once you stick your knee in the ground, you have no range.
Yeah.
Right? And they're just like anything to the sideline is just winning, right? Anything probably to the middle is winning. And so, yes, the accuracy is kind of the answer. Even if you misdirect that ball, he'll probably won't get it back very well, right? So it's like all those things are answers to your question of what do you do with someone who's just so good defensively? And we're kind of saying, don't hit it right at them. That's the answer.
Exactly. Yeah. In short, don't hit the ball at them. You got to go.
Yeah, but it's hard not to because
a little short, a little away.
But when you get a pop up, your eyes get big.
Yeah.
And you do that, and then you just want to hit it as hard as you can. Another thing that I'm trying to help this junior that I'm playing with a lot, like stop putting the ball away as hard as you can. That is just not you're not getting better by just slapping every single one. It's very impressive how hard you can hit it, but like that is just not gonna. It's not going to pay. Like taking huge swings, there's risk in that, so it's going to cause you to miss. Taking huge swings is less accurate, so people are going to get it back. And it's like just there are other smarter, safer options. If you don't see the top guys doing it, then it might not be the best way to do it.
I agree. And fun fact, I wore knee pads for about a year. I was Dave Proposal Velardo's acolyte. Is that the word? I was like his follower. You know, I was his disciple. That's the word I was looking for. I was Dave's disciple for about a year. And then I realized all anyone had to do was just hit it a little away from me. And then I'd be on the ground on my stomach lunging to get the ball. And I was like, okay, I got it. I learned something from this. I have some good lessons that you can't get too low. But I think the knee pads were, they were a good like training aid. Yeah, is what I would say. A good training aid. Oh my gosh.
Well, if there's one thing that start did help you with, is that you are not afraid of the ball. No. You are one of the few pros who, when in the face of incoming heat, you do not back off. Mm-hmm. Like you stay there and with expectation of making this shot, and you turn a lot of points around because of that, because people just, the harder they hit it, the less accurate they're going to be. And if I put my paddle in a good place, it's super makeable. But it's not makeable if I'm afraid and I'm kind of running back.
Well, thank you. My sister's the exact same to a fault. And I think maybe we were both dropped maybe in the same spot on our heads as toddlers. Because, yeah, we seem to have, we don't have that fear factor in us. So, Scott, talk to me, for better and worse, by the way. So Scott, talk to me about drills for defense. If we want to get better at defense, what are some drills?
Well, so again, defense is a very broad topic. So it's like when we talk defense, I want to get specific about defense from where. And so if we just say defense at the kitchen, okay, right? It's like if we're going defense at the kitchen, and let's say I want to work on my handling off the bounce speed ups, right? Mm-hmm. So I will dink down the line with my drilling partner, mm-hmm, and I will just say, all right, like you have, like, we're just going to dink, and then you have the green light, fire away when ready, and then
yep.
What I like to do, I like to kind of get specific and say, I'd like to work on my backhand counter. So if you could, when you speed up, if you could just send the first 3 straight into my paddle so I can get the feel of it, get some confidence going, right? You get some accuracy with your speed up, and I get some reps hitting the shot I'm working on. And then kind of mix it up, right? But then also it's like, okay, now I want to work on my scorpion. So if you could hit it right at me so I can get down and get some reps on how low do I need to go, and it's, how hard is it to control this scorpion? It's like if I take the paddle back and I hit this, is it going to hit the back fence? How do I get my, where's my paddle need to be? Yep. So I would work with a partner to get reps, tell them what you want to work on, and if they're, be cooperative at first, and then after you get some reps doing the shots you want to work on, then kind of leave it open, because then you can look, now you're working on reading what's coming.
So I agree with that. If you weren't born missing pieces of your frontal cortex, like my sister and I were, then what you want to do is have some partner cooperation. And it's not as scary if you know it's coming, and if you know directionally where it's going, like you said. So I love that. What about the wall, like the literal wall? I was watching a Jack Monroe video, and I see so many videos of pros being like, here's how I use the wall. And his was actually one of the only wall drill videos I liked. And it was because he wasn't just sitting there going, half speed, working on hands, or fast, fast, fast. He was going like soft, speed up counter, or speed up reset. And I liked the cadence, and I was like, this is the first time I've seen a wall drill that I think I could get behind. So do you like the wall for working on defense?
I mean, in the context of
Like one more ball's coming back. Like I think that's
yeah,
what
in the
I'm asking.
context
The
of maybe
context of a
the
ball's coming
the
back.
speed up, and then like combo,
Yes.
right? If we say, well, it's like if I speed up, it gets countered. Now I'm comboing. It's like
Yes.
that. That I do think that's a good drill. That is a great skill to have.
Yeah.
It's a good pattern to be very comfortable with. If every time you sped the ball up, you also, just instinctively out of practice had your hand up ready for the counter, you'd be amazed at how many times
Life-changing.
you could finish rather than I hit my two-handed speed up and then I finish here and then now I'm getting hit in the stomach because why is my paddle up here?
Life-changing.
So I think for that reason, it's it's great. And let's dig into like what does it take to like why do people do this? Like why do people take such big swings? Those who are good at this little speed up, be ready combo do everything short.
Yeah.
Like very small swings.
Yes.
Small swings, and it's like everything is out in front.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's off topic of defense, but it is such an important thing. Like, if you're playing someone with long swings, beat them with short swings, punish them for it.
Yes. I love that. That's probably my favorite Scott-ism from this pod is if you're playing someone with long swings, beat them with short swings. The number one thing I've noticed in my sister's game, and I talk about her a lot because she's on this journey from 4-5 to as good as she really wants to be. And for the past 2 weeks, we've been playing, and it's just been, demoralizing for her because she's like, why can't I beat you? And I'm like, well, how long do you have? And I'll explain the reasons, right? But my point is, the number one reason I gave her was, look, you are just not ready for one more ball to come back your way. You're thinking like the point is over and the ball is coming back. And I see this a lot with people who have just a ton of potential, but they're literally surprised when their opponents get the speed up back. Like what you just talked about, they hit a really good speed up. They leave their paddle, right? Like you said, at their right shoulder or to their side. And they're just not ready for one more ball to come back. So you talked about one fix for that is like leave your paddle out, right? Like shorter, leave it in front of you, I should say, not out. Leave it in front of you. Get it back in front of you. Are there any other fixes, mental or drills that someone listening at home could do to get better at this notion that another ball is coming back their way?
I think similar to the drill where I kind of described being cooperative with, hey, fire this ball right at me,
Yeah.
so that I can work on my counter. It's like, well, you could turn it the other way too and have the person who's speeding up. It's like, hey, I want to work on my combo. I'm gonna fire it right into your paddle. Can you just pop it back here to my? It's like
Yeah.
I want to work on my forehand speed up to backhand finish.
Yeah.
So can you counter it to my backhand so that I can get this combination right? And it's like running patterns with a cooperative partner is to me a great, and getting reps, because what I see most of the time is people going out and sort of doing that but not doing it. Like, I like to see the same rep, the same pattern multiple times in a row, over and over. And when I work with people, it's like I have to be kind of a taskmaster to get them to do it the way I want them to do it. It's like,
Yeah.
I want to see the same thing every time. And it's like, it's like, oh, well, they missed this one. And then this counter goes here. And it's like, so here, okay, here's the tip. This is what I end up always telling people. Until you get it right, slow it down.
I love that.
Do not start full speed. All right, let's first work the pattern half speed. Slow forehand speed up, block it, backhand finish. Okay, let's get a few at half speed. Did you right? Okay, we have the pattern. Let's see how close to full speed we can do it.
I think another way is to obviously play with players better than yourself, right? If you're getting putaways and you're putting the ball away, you might be playing with people, not as good as you, right? So that's easier said than done. Go play with better players. Okay, thanks, Jill. Wow, can I have my 44 minutes back? But here's an idea. We all take lessons. If you're listening to this podcast, you love to learn. You love to learn as much as Scott and I love to learn. And one thing you can do if you're taking a lesson and you're over a 4.0, actually, I think you could do this at any skill level, is don't take the lesson for advice per se. Use it like we used to call this in tennis a drill lesson or a driller, right? Like I had a driller, a young guy who would hit balls with me, but he wasn't my coach. He wasn't giving me technical advice. What was my mom paying for? She was paying for me to kind of get my head ripped off, to see a heavier ball. So if you're taking a lesson from someone, try it out. Try saying like, hey, for the last 30 minutes, I just want to play against you. Like, don't be super nice to me. Like, I want to see what a heavier ball looks like. I want to see one more ball come back. Scott, do you like that advice?
Yes, here's why I like it, because when you step up that level, one of the first things you realize is I have so much less time against the better player. And so, okay, so if I have less time, I have to be readier more quickly, which usually means it's like all of the stuff I'm doing has to be smaller.
Yeah.
And so I can't, I don't have the luxury of time of this big old swing and like doing kind of the stuff. It's not on my time anymore, right? When you're playing a player or a team that's better than you, you're playing on their time.
Yeah.
Right? They're dictating the cadence, the pace of what's happening usually. Now, sometimes if you're playing the Johns Brothers, that cadence is going to be slower until it's not. But like a lot of times, the better team is just doing things harder, faster, and you have to play on their time. And so that lesson you just described, hitting with a hitter that's a level up from you, you will realize I have to be quicker with my readiness. And and it's like what else are you going to be? You're going to be defensive almost the whole time. So another way to work on your defense.
Yeah, like when I walk past the courts at my local club and I see 3-5, 4-0 players taking lessons from an instructor, and it's like patty cake, dink 1, dink 2, dink 3. Like I'm literally thinking like, you'd be getting more out of this, like with that driller that's at a little bit higher level, or just saying at the end of the 30 minutes, like, take my head off. Like I want to see what I can get back. So I'm glad that you like that.
Yeah, and I like the split the lesson up into two different parts. So it's like, okay, we get the little patty cake drilling, get some feel for the ball, but let's add some reality into it also. Not all of one or all of the other, but like a blend of both is a nice way to do it.
I've loved this episode, Scott. What else? Well, no surprise there. I do love my defense. What have we missed?
So if we talk about some other situational defense, there's a couple of shots I'd like to talk about. And it comes when you're dinking. Today, it's like so many of the pros hit such offensive dinks. So when someone's hitting an offensive dink, and let's say it's like, they've kind of caught you and they've beat you. Now you have to kind of go chase it. What do you do? Handling a really good offensive dink is a skill that the pros, they make it look easier than it is. It's like you have to chase. You get your feet going, your paddle going, you got to reach, and then you have to hit a neutralizing
feather
slow dink that bounces to give yourself time to get back into the point. And that, what often happens at the non-pro level is, oh my gosh, I'm chasing, like you realize you're desperate. And rather than clicking into, hey, I can neutralize this, you just click into panic.
Yes.
And it's either hero, it's lob, or like usually it's just, try and flick. Maybe I can flick this for a winner. Wouldn't that be amazing? And it doesn't turn out good. So I think I think practicing, kind of like, and I think the way I would practice this, I would think cross court with someone, and then I would get, I would kind of inch myself to the middle, set them up to kind of roll me wide, not wide for an ATP, but wide that I've got to chase this, and then run it down and see if I can get this thing in a, kind of back to the middle, so the person can't earn it if there was someone in front of you, but can I get this thing to bounce? So that's one.
That is golden advice.
Because that is defensive dinking, right? And it's like the two people that I picture in my mind when I talk about this, Tyson McGuffin is number one.
Yes.
Well, not number one, but it's like he's one person I think of, and then Colin Johns is number two. It's like they're both so good, and they're not really the same either, like in how they do it. But like they both will take. I mean, almost any dink you hit to Colin, he can neutralize it.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying is when you feel that panic bubbling up because you're lunging for a really aggressive dink, you're out of position, what most people do is they lob, they flick, they panic. And can we find that calmness, that slowness, that composure in the face of panic? And that's how I feel on the court. The more panicked or stretched I am, the slower I try and feel. So I love that advice, Scott.
Like you just brought up that what do people do in the face of that? They flick, right? The example I just gave was, I'm standing in the middle and I have to chase it. They got it away from me. Yeah. But what if I'm right in perfect position? They still hit a very good, hard, aggressive dink at me. If I'm not mentally ready to softly handle that very difficult shot, what do? Here's what most people do. They flick it.
Yep.
They I can't deal with this. Let me just get it over with. And then what happens? That flick doesn't go well. So they lose that rally. And then as they walk back for the next point, they kind of give you the, oh, I had that. It was there. And it's like, no, it wasn't. But whenever you hear someone say, oh, it was there. If it was there, you would have made it. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't there.
Yeah.
But you're saying it's there because nobody wants to own their bad readiness and their bad decision.
Yeah.
Rather than just saying, ooh, that was wrong. Nobody wants to call it wrong. So they'll say, oh, it was there. Execution error. I can live with an execution error. But the problem is you don't learn the lesson.
Yeah.
Right? It's like if you just chalk that up to execution error, you're going to do it again.
Yeah.
So I think the key to being good at handling offensive dinks and being defensive is recognizing the pattern so that when it happens, you're soft. Like the reason Colin Johns is really good at it is he's kind of pre-decided he's not the flicker on the team.
Yeah.
He is the resetter on the team. And I think Tyson is kind of similar. It's like he's not the offensive guy if he's playing like the right side. I think he does a lot better now, but it's like they both have the mentality of I am such a good dinker. I can neutralize any dink you hit to me. I think they have that knowing, and therefore they don't have this desperate reach forward, flick the ball. Well, and so it just doesn't happen, where so many other people don't have that mindset, so they just flick. It's a disaster, and then they don't own their disaster.
I love that. And one fun exercise for everyone listening at home is if you're usually the big winner in your group, or you're going into a group where you're usually the big winner, I challenge you to win just dinking. It's super cool that you can speed up and hit through everyone or lob. I want to see you dink your way to victory. And I gave my sister that drill actually when she was getting better 3-4 months ago, and she was playing with some lower level group. Could you go out next week and do it just by controlling the kitchen line? And she called me after and said, that was so much easier than what I was doing before. Why haven't I just been playing like this? This is way easier on me, and it's way more fun, and I feel like I'm a puppet master. So that could be something too to take home and try, Scott. that could inhibit that panic flick if you're just going in with the mentality of like, hey, I'm going to win this by being the dictator on the dinks. And I know how to neutralize if I need to. Do you like that advice?
I love that advice for playing games when you are, whether you're the alpha, like by like a little or a lot, it's like, let's play some longer points.
Yeah.
And let's work on, let me, not only get into this, oh, I'm going to dink. See if you can pretend you're nervous too. Right? It's like, we can, it's like dinking when I'm not nervous, super easy. Just carve it up, beautiful. But dinking when I'm down, 9-10, those are different dinks. How good is my dink quality when I'm nervous? It's like, if you can recreate that in a rec game, then you can start to develop some shots that you really believe in.
Yes.
And that's where confidence comes from.
Yes.
It's like if you put some, self-imposed pressure and then find that, under this pressure, this is the dink that I really seem to count on. Then when you get in that situation, you will kind of have that you'll have that memory, you'll have that play to use, rather than get in the situation, you're super nervous, what do I do? And you don't know yet. So I do like that and just want to add on to it.
I just had an epiphany. I know what our next episode's going to be on.
What do you got?
All things drills. What are the drills we do? How do we recreate pressure situations in our practice and in our drilling? Like top 5 pros we know, top 5 drills we know all pros do, how to do them, and how we recreate pressure situations. What do you think?
I like that idea because it'll kind of get me, it'll get me thinking about, maybe some drills that I haven't done or thought about in a while. So that should be good for me. Like I'm coming back off of an injury soon, and I'm going to need to be doing these things. So this is perfect homework for me.
Well, I love and hate this because my drills are homegrown, literally homegrown. I create my lesson plan before my Mexico camp. In the morning, I created 3 drills that were literally like game changing for not just my campers, but even me when I was in Mexico last time. So I hate like revealing all of my like favorite drills. So we'll have to leave a little something special for everyone listening. So they come to Mexico October 25th of 2025 to see me and Scott at beautiful Tres Palapas, just 1 hour north of Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. If you like white sand beaches, tacos, margaritas, Scott and me and my better half playing the ukulele, don't miss Mexico.
That sounds awesome.
Scott, anything else on defense?
I would say, if you consider yourself an offensive player, that does not mean you can't also be a great defensive player. It is not one or the other. I think to be a great pickleball player, it is best to be good at all of it. And so I think embrace the skill of playing great defense. Yeah. It's like if your defense is great, points will last longer, which will just give you more opportunity to be offensive if that's what you like to do. So, it is, like your opening was really good because it's like it talked about the value of being good at this aspect of the game. And it is, it's half the game. And, the other thing that we talked about is like the offense is coming.
Yeah.
So if you have some answers for that, you're in so much better shape.
Yeah, that's well said. That they're 2 sides of the same coin. The offense is coming, so let's get really great with our defense. And you're listening to this podcast because you want to be a complete player. That's what Scott and I are striving for at all times. We share notes basically all the time. I'm sending Scott video, and I'm like, is this right? Is this wrong? Should I do this? Should I have been here? Like, we want to be better, and I hope you know that by listening. So. Thank you, and we are so excited for next week's All Things Drills. All right, we are out. You never knew what the intro
Was that the good old days? I thought that was still happening every week. I mean,
We're on episode 13, and I'm talking about the good old days. I love it.